Hi Deepak ji. Hi Deepak Kumar ji. Hi Navjot ji. Hi Kavita ji. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Okay, before we start with the webinar, right? What do you think about the topic for today? Any comments on the same? The three C's of education. Now, whatever three C's I've taken right here is coordination, change, and control. Yeah, and these three C's basically differ a lot from the three C's. Okay, which Google mentions you when you search about the three C's of education, right? Well, before starting any further, well, I am Harsha Agarwal, who is a speaker for the webinar for today. I also had other webinars with the homework app and team before, and with all of you, and most of you before. And if anybody have joined, for the first time, well, yeah, I always start with a basic introduction, as in what do you think of the topic, and then we go ahead with the same. So, what did you think of the topic which is on the screen for today? Three C's of education: coordination, change, and control. What are your thoughts about the same? Okay, good one. All right, Kavita ji. But what do you understand, from the topic is my question. If I say three C's of education and I present such kind of a topic on the screen, right? What are your thoughts about the same? What do you think, we will learn, in today's webinar? And how to be the best, which is another tagline, attached with the webinar. What do you think is all about? Any thoughts on the same? No thoughts? Nothing? Okay, yeah. Change should be introduced. Yes, definitely. Kavita ji. All right. So still teachers are joining, many teachers are joining, I feel. And good evening to all of them, once again. Welcome to the webinar. I just asked a very basic question, as in, what do you think of the topic which is presented on the screen? What are your thoughts on the same? And is there anything you want to convey from your end, right? Seeing to no responses, right now, I'll just go ahead and quickly give you the expectation setting, for today's webinar. All right. Control of class is required. Creativity, yes, definitely, definitely. So before we start with the webinar, as we always do, the expectation setting from today is that we learn about how coordination, change, and control works in tandem for the schools and the classrooms and teachers in general, right? And then we will also learn about some basic pointers, as in how to be the best, some of the world's best school examples, their own strategies. How can teachers be the best as what they do, and bring the three C's of education together: coordination, change, and control. Before we move ahead, it's already 6 p.m. So before starting with the webinar, just a little message from the homework app and team is you get participation certificates for every webinar you attend, right? So all the webinars are certified in nature. In within 24 hours, it will reach you via your emails. And there's another thing known as the Smart Teacher Festival, which the homework app and team is carrying, from some time, right? Now it also provides you with the opportunity for earning, but how, we will discuss more about the same during the end of the webinar. So these two topic will come again, but during the end. Okay. All right, starting with the topic for today. As we already saw, right, the three C's for schools and classrooms are basically coordination, change, and the last one is control, right? Okay, there are loads of messages. I'll just see once my chat box. Oh, definitely, PPG. Coordination between all the factors should be there. Yes, definitely. And yes, good evening, everyone, once again, whosoever responded right now. So basically, I've just put a simple definition, of coordination for all of you to just look at it, and get a gist of what I'm trying to talk about. Coordination, in simple terms, is basically a cohesiveness, is basically an integration between different employees, between different groups, and departments in the organization, right? So if you are a school teacher, your school is an organization, right? If you are a principal, the way you work, the way you make cohesiveness, or the way you make different departments work together, the way you have systematized your functions in schools is also basically an example of coordination, right? And without coordination, there would be no harmony, there would be no discipline in your processes in your school, or in any of the processes you carry out in your daily, let's say, in your daily life, or in day-to-day activities of your school. So coordination is the first thing, which is very, very essential when we talk about education, or the education system, in general, what we are doing right now. Before we move ahead to the details of, which are the schools, which are the best, and some examples of the same, we'll just talk a little about the education system in general, about the schools, and then we'll come to the classroom, which is another branch of the same. Um, all right, I'll just chat. Okay, chat box once. Is my voice audible and clear to everyone, or is there any problems? Can you just confirm with a yes or a no? Oh, all right, all right. Thank you, everyone. So as you can see on the screen, we have a short table here, for coordination, right? And this table basically gives you a very brief description of how coordination can actually help schools as well as classroom, right? Right now, we are talking about the education system, but as then when we proceed with the webinar, we'll also talk about the education, in general, that is, on teaching terms in the classroom. So basically, we move from a broader topic to a narrower topic as and when we move ahead with the topic. So the first thing, as we see under coordination, right, the three C's, the first C is coordination. So coordination at the management level. Now, what does it mean for schools and for classrooms, specifically? At the management level, if any of the principles, are here in the webinar, right? When we talk about coordination principle, history, and various researchers earlier have told us that there has to be a sync, between all the departments and all the activities that are done at school, right? If you are carrying out a school which has a strength of 2000 students and let's say 100 teachers, you have to create a system, wherein maybe you call them everyone, at meetings, or maybe you develop your own school management application, which kind of notifies all the teachers, all the students, of what is new, which is coming out in the school, right? If the school has a new canteen, let's say, and the canteen requires socialization, maybe you are notifying the same via applications, right? Let's say if the teachers, if any new teachers join, your staff committee or your teachers committee, maybe, the app notifies to everyone, okay, who is there in the school. This way you don't waste time, in calling teachers for meetings again and again after school and before school, and work effectively. Teachers can check their phone, teachers can check their school application very easily, in between classes, in between the breaks, which are there in between classes, or maybe the recess, which we have, the 15-20 minutes, lunch break, which all of us have, right? These kind of effective systems can actually help you a lot, to create a good coordination between, your teachers, and the management, in general. What do you expect of them? A simple notification, a simple bar tool, a simple facility, let's say a check and a cross, can help a school a lot, in these kind of things. So that is the first thing we learn about coordination at the management level for schools. If the same thing is talked about for classrooms, sync between teachers is again something which is very, very essential. Um, let's say one class have six subjects, right? If I am a standard 7 teacher, right, and I teach biology, I know that in standard 7, there are around 7 teachers who teach 7 different subjects, right? Now, again, a sync between all the teachers is also very, very essential. What are they teaching in their own subjects? Because somewhere, you can always use the help of the other subject, in yours as well. If you, let's say, are a social science, or a social studies teacher, maybe you can pick some topic, from some real time, or real life experiences, and use the same in your classes, maybe with the help of role plays, or 3D paintings, pictures, or with tableau act, etc. So again, sync between the teachers is also very, very essential, of the same class, of the same section. Again, how to get this sync? Since we live in an era of digitization where everything has to be done in the minimum amount of time, and to gather the maximum productivity, what we basically do is either we meet, let's say, for 10 minutes every day after school, maybe we allot days. Okay, on Monday all the standard 7 teachers will meet with each other, and they will discuss, what's going on and what's not going on, where are the students not able to catch up, and maybe accordingly, you can change the syllabus as and when you go ahead, rather than following a concrete syllabus ki ABCD ही teach करना है. You all can actually change your syllabus ki okay, A and B are fine, maybe C is a little tough topic which the students are not able to catch up, and you can also take the input of the other teachers there, right? So coordination again is very, very essential, between people. Cohesiveness, group work, again very essential. It helps develop your personality, and more than that, on a school and classroom level, it helps your school to reach the edges, okay, and not just be an average school like others. Okay, if we talk about now coordination at the staff level, the second point. At the staff level, when we talk about coordination, there has to be a sync, there has to be a sync between all staffs again. So every, school management, how a school becomes a top school in the city is because of these kind of, things, the three C's or the three E's, of education, right? We are talking about the first C right now. So if we talk about the second point of staff level, sync between all the staff is also very, very essential, right? I'll just see the chat box once again. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Good evening again. I think many of you joined the webinar just very recently. So yeah, if you have missed any part of it, don't worry. The webinar has been recorded and the same will be uploaded on the YouTube channel of the application as well before 12 p.m. today. So yeah, thank you. All right. So we were talking about the second point of staff level, right? In schools, in classrooms, when we talk about staff facility, we know that in India, we don't follow the systems of Singapore or Japan, wherein students clean their own classroom, or wherein, they try to, collaborate with the staff who is available in the school, to make it a very effective place, right? So what we basically follow in India is we have a servant system wherein we hire various people to complete various tasks, various tasks, let's say, various gory tasks, which the students, are not allotted to do because again, it is not very acceptable, in the Indian culture. So there has to be a sync between all the staff as well, right? If you are an art teacher, I'll just share the screen again because somebody has annotated on the content. So just give me 1 second. All right. So yeah, so let's say if you are a science teacher or an art and drawing teacher, right? Your classes might be characterized with a lot of drawing, with a lot of colorful paintings and activities, some paper waste, some color waste, etc. Maybe if you're a science teacher, maybe some e-waste, is there. Or let's say, some kind of, if you're telling the students to make a turbine, right? Or maybe, an erupting volcano in class, for presentation, or maybe any other kind, of science presentation related to biology, chemistry, physics, etc. You have to coordinate with the staff as well, ki, okay, I'm using the class for the fifth hour for physics, and maybe after this hour the class will be very, very dirty. So three of you has to be here, for maybe cleaning the classroom and making it, presentable, again, for the other teacher to come in the class, and the students to attend the next class, right? Again, as a teacher, as a school, it's your responsibility to make sure what each and every teacher, is trying to what each and every teacher is trying to deliver to the students, and how they are trying to cater to the needs of the student, effectively with individuality. So that individuality is only possible when teachers also take the responsibility, on an individual level, and they coordinate with the staff, as well, and not only with the other teachers, right? Deepak ji, which point do you want me to repeat? I'll just repeat again. Just let me know which point. The sync point totally right now is the example which I gave. All right. So I'll just repeat the same point in short again. Basically, let's say if I'm a biology teacher, okay, I told my students tomorrow, fifth hour biology class will be basically a practical class wherein you have to bring your own stuff, like chart papers, color pencils, some paper, and origami papers, etc. To make some projects, in class on which they will be marked. I know that if I tell the students that tomorrow will be a practical class and we'll practice all these things inside the classroom, we also know that when the students perform these kind of acts, the classroom will be very dirty and kind of unpresentable, for the other teacher or the other faculty to come in the next hour. So it's your responsibility as a teacher to coordinate with the other staff, or with the other, functionalities of your school, and make the classroom, presentable again for the other faculty to enter. Right? It's not the responsibility of the school, it's the responsibility of you as a teacher, because it's you who has given the project to the students, right? I hope, Deepak ji, I'm clear, but if there's anything else, do let me know. All right. That is the second point, wherein we talk about coordination, right? So we were talking about the three C's, and we're on the first C right now, okay, which is coordination, right? On the school level and the classroom level. And the last is departments. Again, very simplified. When we talk about departments, again, every school has various departments, accounts, finance, and management, even department, etc., etc. There has to be a proper coordination between different departments. There has to be a proper cohesiveness, maybe by a means of meeting, maybe by a means of, the e app, which I was telling all of you about, that by a simple notification you can update everyone, in real time. right? And you don't have to waste time, in sending a meeting notification, gathering teachers for meetings, waiting for the meeting to start, and so on and so forth. So we can do that as well, right? Again, we can also distribute some kind of circular or brochure, which is kind of traditional practices in schools. Again, many of us don't read the same. So maybe certain kind of notifications wherein there's a check and cross option, and maybe if you click on the check button, the school will know how many teachers have read the notification and responded to the same. These kind of systems can be developed to ensure cohesiveness among everyone, teachers, staff, management, departments, the school, etc. Everyone has to know what is going on, what came new, so that when any student asks about the same, you don't appear like a fool to them, right? It's your school, you are the teacher, it's your school, you are the principal, it's your department. So you have to know what's going around. So very important, is coordination among each and every functionality of the school. Talking about the second point, which is change, the second C, right? Change, again, in very simple terms, I have put just a basic definition of change on the screen. But talking about change in very simple terms is to modify and to develop, to change with time is the best definition which we could use, for this webinar. So change is basically development, along time, right? As and when the outside, the external environment changes, new technology comes in, internationalization happens, new things are imported, into the country, new ideas gets imported, let's say new people come, and they present their ideas. You have to develop your own arena, or your own classroom or school arena also, in cohesiveness, to the outside world. So again, coordination is something, which comes with change. When change happens outside, you have to develop, technology, or the things which are required in the inside as well. And this will only happen when you are able to coordinate, with what is happening in the outside environment. Yeah. So just seeing a basic table again for change at the school, and the classroom level, and why it is so very important, right? Talking about the next C will be school level. So in the school level, if we see, right, every city has its own, top 5 or top 10 best school list. Uh, on thinking on a very deeper level, one will understand that when we say that the particular school has a top 5 or top 10 list, and let's say if particular school A, the ABC, international school is a top school in my city, why do you think the school is top in your city? That is something, to question. That is something worth questioning, actually. To understand what are their strategies and where are our school lagging, because of which we are not able to climb up the ladder, of the top 5 schools in our city, you have to think, you have to develop yourself with the change. The top schools are always the ones who bring the change, or who develop themselves with the change, with time, right? So if we see the first point at the school level, there has to be a sync, with different schools as well. If your city, if you are the principal of a particular school, if you are the core management member or the BOD member, you have to understand that if a certain school, if your school is still not in the top 5 or top 7 rankings, it's your job to bring it to the same. And you can only do it, by syncing with other schools, what they are doing, how they are carrying out various functionalities, or what they are doing, different from your school, that they are at the top of the list. So change, again, is very essential. You have to keep yourself updated what's going on, in the outside world. Again, if we talk about classrooms, sync with different school teachers, right? Again, maybe if you are a standard 9 mathematics teacher, right, and you are starting with the chapter trigonometry, maybe the students of your class are not understanding, the trigonometry with effectiveness as the students of standard 9b. Let's say you are a 9a teacher, and there's another 9b teacher as well. Now 9b has proceeded with trigonometry, much more effectively and much more faster than you, and the students are also able to catch up with the topic, and this is known by the general feedback. But the 9a students are not able to do so, maybe because the way you teach, is not that appropriate for the students. It's not that easily, it's not very catchy, for the other side, of the audience. So you have to, again, change, your teaching methods, or maybe your teaching style, right, or your teaching technique, in the classroom, by coordinating with the same kind of teachers, of the same standards, so that you might know, that okay, where am I lacking? Is there anything I have forgotten to strategize? Is there anything I'm doing wrong on my end? So again, not bringing the ego factor, here, that I am a much experienced professor than she or she. There's always something to learn from everyone. Maybe a teacher who has less experience than you can also teach you, something new and something very effective, which can help you, for a lifetime. Right. Well, moving on to the second point of change, that is the next C, right? So comparison is, again, comparison is something which is again very, very important, updating yourself, as we just discussed in the first point. Being a teacher, being a school, you have to keep on comparing yourself with the other people who are doing better than you. If you are, let's say, a biology and mathematics teacher, you have to compare yourself with the other teachers, in your school. If you are equally effective or not, take regular feedback from your students, take regular feedback from other faculties as well. Be open to criticisms, and again, as I always say, don't bring the ego factor in there, that I have more experience, or I have more degrees, in hand, or more doctorates, in hand. It doesn't matter if your audience, if the students are not understanding what you're trying to teach them in class, right? And same goes for the school as well. You might think that, everything you're doing in your school, all the procedures, all the activities are the best, but still, if you're not able to cater, to yourself in the top 5 or top 2 list, in your city, again, you're doing something wrong, and you have to come out of your shell to understand that, okay, I have to keep myself open to what other people are doing, so that, the next time, when somebody comes to my school to interview students or to interview the management, we can always bring a factor of change in front of them. Then yeah, our school likes to bring change and modifications from time to time, and that shows a newness in your thoughts and ideas, and that you're open to what's going on in the outside world, right? uh, that is basically the second point, of comparison. If we talk about the third point, of syllabus, right? Again, change in, syllabus is something which is very, very essential, at the school level and at the subject level as well for classrooms, right? At the school level, obviously every school follows, a basic guideline which comes, from the board, right? From the NCERT, CBSE, or ICSE, or state board, etc. Every school has its own basic guidelines which they have to follow. But maybe as a school, you can take an extra step of introducing, certain new subjects to students, which interest them, a lot, which makes them different from the students of the other school. And that's how you make your school different, from the other schools as well in the city. Not only your students are differentiating, but you as a school is also differentiating by doing so. Maybe bringing, language subjects, like French and German, or maybe introducing, certain different, kind of sports, like volleyball, etc., as compulsory section, in the schools. Many schools doesn't have it still in India, right? But maybe your school can do so. In the classroom level, again, syllabus, if we talk about syllabus, if again, let's say if I am a standard 10 teacher, right, and I'm a standard 10 teacher teaching mathematics right now, I got to start the chapter of probability, and the topic is, let's say, Bayes theorem in probability. So what will I do is, if I think that this particular book which is referred by the school is very hard for the students to catch, right? Maybe I can bring in, my own syllabus plan, that okay, if I want to teach this topic to students, I'll teach this first, this second, and this third, and from this particular books, right? So again, it should be what works best for you and your students. One syllabus, one course plan cannot work for all, but maybe you can try, and bring in certain differentiation, in the way you teach, to make everybody understand the same. So again, change, in syllabus from time to time, the way you teach, the way you cater to students is very, very important. um, that is basically all about change, on the school and the classroom level. And you can see the particulars right here, on what basis we had the comparison. Moving on to the third and the last C, right, which is control. So I just again put a very basic example, and definition of control on the screen, as you all can see. But on very simple terms, control basically means, that there's a chain of command which you're following in the school to discipline, or to ensure discipline on the management level, on the staff level, and on the student level, right? That is basically what control here means. Okay. um, Good evening, everyone. I can still see a lot of good evenings, and it's 6:23 p.m. I hope you all heard, whatever I told till now. And if you haven't, the video will be there in the YouTube channel of the Homework app, and you all can catch up, from there if you have missed any part of it, right? So till now, for the people who have joined just now, I have just discussed the three C's of education, and how it is relevant in the school and classroom level, right? With various particulars, on the same. And we are discussing right now the last C, of control, which basically refers to the chain of command, in a school. So if we talk about the chain of command, it's very essential that the school has proper discipline, or decorum systems, wherein they maintain, the students, the children, the teachers, the staff, um, in a certain order, right? So everybody should know that, okay, when as a teacher I come into the school, I first have to check in at the office, and maybe then go and sign in on the register, and then I go and conduct my classes, right? There has to be a decorum, and there has to also be procedures which are implemented if the decorum or the discipline procedures are not followed by anyone, right? So Meenakshi ji, the attendance link will be shared during the end of the webinar, not now, ma'am. So don't worry, I'll share the attendance link by 7 p.m. Yeah. Also, Sakshi ji, my screen, if my screen is not pleased, I'm changing my screen. I think maybe it's because of your internet connection. So I just request you to check the scene once again. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. All right. So that is basically the three C's of education, which we discussed till now, and how everything, can be very effective at the schools and classroom level, if done properly, as you can see on the screen, right? We discussed all these things till now. Again, control is very important for one and one thing, that is discipline, and accountability in the management system. And that is how these schools, which are at the top, of the city or top of the country, are at the top, because they have these three C's, under control. The element of change, the element of coordination, and the element of control. They know how to modify themselves with time. They know how to control and how to discipline students. They know how to produce the most effective students, even though the students don't like it at that time. Later on, when they graduate, or when they pass out from the school, they'll definitely remember, that it's because of this procedure, they have reached, this particular level in life, right? Um, so that was all about the three C's, of education at the classroom and at the school level, for both the teachers and the principal to follow and to implement. Now, to talk further about, what can be done to become the best in the city, in the country, or maybe in the entire world. There are schools, which have their names on the top, and they are at the top due to certain reasons, right? So again, what Google has to say about the top schools of the world, and again, what can we learn from them? Any idea, which is the school or university I'm going to talk about right now? As you all can see the question on the screen, right? So any idea, any guesses, which is the one university I'm going to talk about right now, and take an example of why it is the best in the world and what makes it the best, basically. IIT, all right, all right. Any other guesses? DU, all right, Parulji. In the world also, not only limited to India, yeah, in the world as well. Oxford, Meghaji, very close, but no. Faraji, as you can see on the screen, my simple question is, what Google says about the top schools of the world, right? And what can we learn from them? So if you go on Google right now and search the top 10 schools around the world, right? The answers, which you get. Any guesses, which is the one I'm going to talk about? Cambridge, all right. Manipal, Stanford, oh my God, so many responses. Japan School, Cambridge, loads of Cambridge. Why? All right. Okay, Ivy Leagues, all right. JNU, all right. Cambridge again. Harvard, yes, Rashmi ji, Harvard, exactly. That's the right guess. It's Harvard, Sanjeev ji, not LSE. So the one university I'm going to talk about right now, just to give you an idea of why it is the best, and what is the simple basic strategy which makes it the best, along with the many other things, we already know. So the one example I'm going to take is of Harvard University right now, right? And let's see what information, we get from Google, or from other sites, when we try to search about these kind of universities. So talking about Harvard University, right? We all know, it is one of the top schools, in the entire world. Again, with a very, very low selection rate of students, because obviously, if you are a Harvard graduate or if you are a Harvard student, you are the best in some way or the other. And as you all can see on the screen, I'll just read it out once for the people whose screen has freeze due to any internet connectivity or any other issues. So Harvard students have access to courses, research institutes, and faculty mentors from all parts of Harvard, with world-renowned faculty, state-of-the-art resources, and individualized instruction. It is the perfect place to pursue your favorite and still to be discovered academic interest. Just a basic definition, of Harvard for our listeners. Um, Again, talking a little about why Harvard is being the Harvard, around the world, and why it is the best, right? That is the basic agenda of discussing this topic for today. So, if we see the Harvard list, or the Harvard pointers, you will come to know that, whosoever teaches, at Harvard has a very inflated, educational background. Now, what do I mean by inflated educational background? They are very significant, in their own aspect. Some of them have won Nobel Prizes, some of them have toured across the country, some of them have, around 9 to 10 degrees, on different subjects all around the world. They have experiences in the top industries, in the top positions, and they have the kind of experience, which no other faculty can provide in the normal schools or normal universities. That is the Harvard professors. It what makes the Harvard, very, very special, right? So what we learn from this is, as a teacher, as a principal, as any course instructor, even if you're a tuition teacher, what makes you different from other people is your own qualifications, education, and the level of knowledge, how much you have experienced things in your life, how much you were flexible, how much you were open to, take up new things, how many degrees you have, how many doctorates you have, how many, prizes, you have won, how many books you have written. This is what adds credibility to your personality, as a teacher. So Harvard teachers, when we talk about, they are highly credible, in nature and their personalities. Okay, just seeing the chat box once. Farah ji, we are not discussing about the online or offline mode. We are discussing about the three C's of education, as you can read the topic. And again, we are discussing on how the three C's, have made the schools the best, right? If some schools are on the top of the world, like Harvard, Cambridge, Stanford, or the Ivy League schools, it is best for a reason. Recently, I read in news, that there was this one African American girl, who got into all the 8 Ivy League schools at once, and that is the kind of, news, oh, thank you, Faraji, no worries, my pleasure. That is the kind of, importance you get from these kind of schools or universities. Again, Parul ji says Harvard is the best because it gives top education offers. Exactly, ma'am. That's what I'm saying, not see, before the courses, before the students, the university is so essential, so important, and so hard to get in. It's because of the kind of, quality of education they provide. And when I talk about quality, I ultimately mean the people who provide the education there, and that's the professors, who are at Harvard. They're scholars, they're not just simple professors. Again, the second thing here, if you can see, if you have read the points right here, we just talked about, how Harvard, differentiates it. The first thing is with, with the eminent scholars, and the professors, right? And again, with the kind of, education courses, and education packs, it offers to the other students. So if we see, Harvard has a vast majority of study programs, related to law, medicine, astronomy, sociology, and so on and so forth. It is almost top in all the fields of its education, all the fields of study, right? So what Harvard does is, it follows the principle of specialization, right? If you are opting this one subject in your curriculum or in your course, you have to aim that you are the best at it, or you bring the best faculty, you bring the best minds, to teach that subject. And that is how, it is at the top of the world today. It keeps on modifying, it keeps on, changing, and it's professors and faculties, and there's this kind of revolvement which happens, in Harvard, right? Even the people, who are teaching in Harvard right now, pursue, something or the other, at the sidelines, maybe a scholarly course, or maybe another doctorate or another degree, on top of what they have right now. So change, again, is very, very essential. They all follow the principle of change at the very core, on an individual level, a level as a teacher, on the classroom level, at the school level. They keep on seeing, what is going around in the world. Either they bring the change or they follow the change, right? Again, this can only happen, when you have the proper coordination and when you have the proper control as well. Definitely, Faraji. Studying or growing in such institutions and carrying forward the research of the legend mentors is altogether a different level of satisfaction. Definitely, definitely. It's a dream for many, yeah. Um, All right. So again, just taking a very basic example of one university here to reinforce, the three C's what we were talking about. Why change is so essential? Why coordination is so essential? With the outside world, with the inside world, with your own self. How much you have developed, yourself from the past 6 months. If you compare your own personality 6 months back, how much you have developed. What have you contributed extra or additional to your own knowledge? That is very very essential. And again, Harvard University has a lot of endowments in its pocket. So loads of supports, loads of funds, loads of donations which it gets, and because of which it is able to manage the some of the top equipments, top libraries, top notch infrastructure facilities, top notch sport facilities for its students, right? So again, it's a life changing opportunity because they just tapped on the very simple things which the other schools never pay attention on, or which the other teachers on an individual level don't pay attention on, right? That is basically one example of Harvard University and how they've reinforced the three C's at the very core. Again, there was another article I came across, from the Global Services in Education. That's a very reliable site. If anybody of you wants to go and read on the same, uh, reasons for some schools being better than the others, as per an article by the GSE. There were certain pointers which were mentioned in the article, and yeah, it's also on the screen as you all can see. The first is long-term vision, the second is strong and sustained leadership. So what do we mean by this is, if you are a school who is nowhere in the list of the best schools, or if maybe you are a teacher who is nowhere recognized as one of the best teachers, very sorry for the same. It was just network issue from my end. So with the long term vision, we basically mean that as in school you have to see 5 years ahead, right? You have to establish some goals or some aims for your own self, because without any goal, without any vision, you can't reach really anywhere. You have to see, after 5 years, what are the kind of changes which are coming in our country related to education. Where are the government policies directing towards after 5 years relating to education, right? So you have to keep yourself updated before time to understand these kind of changes are going to happen in the market, and if I want to catch up with the same, I have to start my preparations from now on. So long term vision for any school is very very important, to keep your teachers, to keep your faculty trained with time, and to make change happen with time. uh, Again, the second thing is strong and sustained relationship and strong commitment to equity. The leadership qualities of any school can be displayed in the kind of policies and procedures they follow. If some school is the best, it's because they understand that there are certain things which are happening externally, and accordingly I have to bring the change internally as well. We no more live in an era wherein we differentiate between boys and girls going to school, right? That's a very old topic. That's a topic for, let's say, 1980s, but not now, because change happened and schools adapted to that change, or maybe let's say schools brought that change to society, that everybody has an equitable right to education. No matter you come from an STSC or OBC family, or you come from, or let's say the families of the Ambanis or the Adanis, you have the same right to education. If a son of Ambani is sitting, let's say, in the school seat, your son from a very average family can also go and sit on the same seat for for the impartment of the education. That is the principle of equity which we talk about today, right? Again, high quality teachers. As a teacher, it should be a responsibility to understand. Just a second, I'm just getting a call. Very sorry for the interruption. I was getting an important call. We were talking about high quality teachers, right? Again, as a teacher, as an individual, it's very important that you develop yourself on an individual level. If, let's say, you have right now, 2 degrees in hand, and let's say one doctorate, maybe while teaching also you can pursue, some other courses in some other field and get your specialization in that as well. This is how you keep on continuous change in your own life, in your own knowledge, and you do not become stagnant stagnant, wherein the outside world, is growing very, very fastly, and which is hard to catch up. So again, high quality teachers are very, very important for any schools, at the core. If the professors, if the people who are imparting education are quality, are developing the quality which is required, automatically whatever you are delivering, will also be very, very effective, and very catchy, for your audience or for your students out there. The next point is accountability to standards. So if we talk about certain schools of Finland, and Singapore, right, we will find out that various schools in these two countries, or in these two places, they follow the principle, of accountability very sternly. Now, what do I mean by this point is, every school should set, a particular standard, for everyone. Every teacher should set a standard, for their classes, that if you want to attend my class, maybe you have to equip yourself, with these many readings, or with these many knowledge or skills, etc. As a school also, everybody should have, a set of standards in their hand, that for becoming a teacher, of biology in this particular school, let's say, we can employ you, we can appoint you, but maybe with this you have to pursue at least one degree or one doctorate or anything, in the sidelines as well, right? So what you do as a school is, you set high standards for both teachers as well as students. A little pressure, just a little pressure, can actually help them come out of their shell, become very, very active, and add on something to their resume, right? Add on something to their knowledge in life as well, which will ultimately contribute to your school only, because they are someone who is teaching your children, and those children, when go out of the school, are the ones, who actually decide, whether your school comes at the top or not. So again, accountability to standards is something which is very, very essential. Again, certain pointers, which follows 3 C's, and why some schools, which are at the top, are at the top. Effective use of the educational resources. If the school is kind of referring, certain kinds of materials to be used, if you as a teacher is referring certain kinds of materials to be used, the principle, or the art of using it effectively without any waste, and considering each and every student's, financial, background, and the, family background, you have to use it very, very effectively. So maybe if there's any book, which is very, very costly, let's say it costs, 1,500 to 2,000 rupees, at once, maybe certain students can't afford it, from their end. So rather than a hard copy, maybe you can provide a soft copy to all of them, right? Maybe if one can afford a hard copy, that's well and good. If one cannot, make them write notes in the classroom, so that even if the students don't have it, they can actually catch it up to it, with an equitable, strength of mind, as the others. So effective use of educational resources is also very, very important. You should know how to use which resource to the best of its capability. And again, talking about globalization and internationalization, we know, and we talked about how the outside world is changing, how new ideas, new minds, new techniques, new systems, new technologies are coming day by day, in our lives, right? And to catch up with all of it is very, very important, because even if you don't catch up with it right now, after 2 years, it's you and your school who are going to be counted as obsolete in nature, right? And after 2 years, when you will try to catch up with the technology, which came today, it will be very, very difficult for you, to survive the cutthroat competition. And maybe students won't prefer, to come to your school, or maybe to come to your classes, maybe if you take extra tuition classes, etc. You have to keep yourself, upgraded with time. Again, this can only happen with the 3 C's, as you mentioned. You have to coordinate, you have to change, and there has to be proper control, to maintain discipline, as well, along with time, right? You should know how to control, and how to discipline the faculty members or the teachers or the students who are there, and how to make them work, with the new technology or with the new idea, you are trying to bring about, in the school, right? Change is something, which makes everybody resist a lot. So there has to be certain procedures, for that as well. But again, these are the certain pointers, at the core, which makes the best teacher the best school the best. And if tapped, in the right manner, if really followed from the core, it can actually help your school, to range or to rank in the top 5 list as well. uh, Okay, Hina ji has a message. RT government is not cooperating in Rajasthan. Okay, mostly all RT students are from very wealthy family, but they are not able to set with our students in terms of etiquettes, learning, study. Please suggest what should we do in such cases. Just a minute. I am not understanding the question properly, ma'am. Hina ji, just tell me one thing. So as you're saying that the government is not very, very cooperative, right? And many students are from the from a very well-off family. So are you meaning that the students who come from not so well-off families are not able to adjust with people who come from, this posh, top-notch families? Is that your question? And what should you do to, make it an equitable grounds for everybody to learn? Just let me know if I'm right, Hina ji. I just saw your question right now. Very sorry. So Hina ji, you can confirm the same, or write the okay, financially they are well, all right. Okay, got it. So basically, you mean, that they are financially well and they come from good families, but they are not able to adjust in case of mannerism, right? Okay, yeah, got it. So, Hina ji, I think in case of mannerism, when this happens, this happens in many schools actually. Certain students, coming from a certain kind of families, yeah, they're not able to adjust, with the other students because, they have a different set of, thoughts, they have a different culture, they come from different families, they have a different set of peer groups before they come to schools. In this case, I think the one and only thing which I can suggest is, carry on a lot of ice breaking sessions in schools. It's very important actually. Whenever a new student comes to school, you shouldn't, first of all, you shouldn't make it clear. Okay, is my voice very low? Sony G is saying my voice is very low. Is it low for everyone? Or is like, it's like fine? Can you just confirm with a yes or a no? It's fine, right? All right. Thank you. Yeah, so just answering Hina ji's question, whenever you feel that, there's a gap between students from different backgrounds, the only thing I'll suggest is, that first of all, don't make it very clear, that they are RT students, or they're coming from this particular background. Whenever we do certain things like this, it's human psychology to not accept people, we are designated, or we are designed to accept, as, inferior to us. If we get the feeling as students, as a 14-15-year-old student, if I get the feeling that, certain student is inferior to me, right? They come from a well family but they don't have any mannerism and they're kind of, backward, people, who come without any mannerism or without any proper etiquettes, into the school, right? When they're not able to adjust, it's first is because, you mentioned it very clearly out there that they are RT students maybe, right? Second thing would be, carry on a lot of ice breaking sessions. So you can carry out sessions, let's say, group work. Again, ice breaking can only happen, in groups, right? So if your school is facing this problem, design a lot of group activities for them, right? And, just plan the groups in such a way that, if you're making a group of five, okay, if your class has a, student strength of, let's say, 60, and if you're planning a group of five, there'll be 12 groups, right? 60 by 5 is 12. Now, out of these 12 groups, make sure that each and every group, has one or two RT students in them, and make them work with the other students, okay? Try to maybe, keep more RT students in one group than the other, students who come from the other backgrounds and families. This way, what will happen is, when you give a group assignment and they don't have any option to work, right? When they do one assignment, when they do two assignment, when they do, various ice breaking sessions together, ultimately, they start to gel in, on various points. People need to talk, people need to know each other, they need to find a common ground to gel in. And to make them gel in, ice breaking is the best way you can do. Again, we can have a separate session on ice breaking as well, because there's loads to tell under that. So for now, Hina ji, I'll just suggest that, search on various ice breaking, strategies on, maybe internet ones, and try to carry it out, for one or two classes. And I'm pretty sure if you do it the right way, ice breaking sessions have always been worked and has been very, very effective, to make students, gel in with each other and to make students understand, each other. So that is something, which is very essential. Acceptability, comes only with, I think, knowingability. So you have to make it first acceptable. I hope I cleared your doubt, Hinachi. You can just respond with a yes or a no. Well, moving, yeah, thank you, Hinachi. Again, just a very simple tip for teachers. We are almost, reached the end of our presentation, and just a tip for teachers will be, as a teacher, as a professor, as a faculty, right? Always have this factor in mind that you will only be preferred. You will only be preferred in comparison to other teachers of your own grade or your own standard when you have certain qualifications which are better than them, right? So if I tell you, from this particular teacher, she has all these elements in her resume, with her right now, all these degrees, doctorates, and she's the head and the HOD and PhD, etc., whereas the other one is just a graduate and a fresher. If both the teachers come to your school, for let's say an interview, or let's say to teach biology and physics, who do you think the school will accept? Just tell me once. Who do you think the school will accept? The particular person standing here, or the particular person standing here, the pink one, or the camel one? Who will the school accept, the first one or the second one? Obviously the second one, right? uh no, first one, pink. Okay, okay, first, second. All right, that's very interesting actually. Just to understand, why some of you have responded the second one. I can understand the first one, has a lot of capabilities, degrees, and diplomas, right? And that is basically, if she tells about herself in front of a class of 60, I think she will be someone, who will be looked highly upon as compared, to this teacher, because she still has a lot to, know. She still has a lot to practice and a lot to experience, right? That is basically the idea, behind this particular slide. What I'm trying to convey is, as a teacher, yeah, you should understand, that it's a very simple thing. You go in a class of you go in front of a class of 60 people, and you tell, you create this kind of a personality in front of them. Obviously people will look highly to you, right? That okay, she has crossed this many things in life, and she has a lot of experience. She's a very good faculty or a professor. But if someone who is just fresh out of college, and is giving a description, as a fresher, I think when compared in one class only in front of the 60 students, I think she's the one who will be most preferred. So developing skills over time, developing extra skills, indulging in extracurriculars, still chasing for more, is something which you all should always do. Quality, comes, with these kind of things. The more you expose yourself, the more you experience, the more quality you develop, in yourself, right? In your knowledge, in your skill set, in your personality. So the aim is that you all develop quality for the next 5 years. um, Megha ji, definitely, but we are not talking about experience right now, right? What we're trying to talk about is, you have to develop quality, in yourself, because quality is something, which always gets people, to look up to you, right? I'm not talking about experience at all. Even this teacher, she doesn't have any 10 years of experience in teaching. Both have 0 years of experience. But all I'm trying to say is, you try to develop, as many skill sets, in you as you can. Again, I totally agree, that a teacher who hasn't have, a lot of degrees or a lot of, experience is not good. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to say is what, that don't stop, is what I'm saying. Okay, you have to change, with time. Again, quality comes with knowledge, definitely, Meenaji, totally agree to your point. Quality comes with knowledge. But yeah, definitely, Jyotiji, again, agree to that point as well. But again, I think, as we discussed, the three C's, of education, and if we are discussing this slide, again, you have to gather a lot of knowledge, in yourself, to bring that quality out to students, right? Why we educate ourselves is basically to broaden our mindsets, and to remove the narrowness, right? The more institutions you go, the more people you meet in your life, is what gives you quality. I know experience is also very, very essential. But if I say that both the teachers right here on the screen have 0 years of experience, and who has greater quality, I'll definitely go with the first one. Quality comes with how much knowledge you have, and with how much you can impart to the other people. Quality comes with how many people you have come across, how many, places you have been, how many institutions you have been. That is how you develop quality. If you all are attending the webinar today for 1 hour, it's because you want to develop a skill set, you want to gather a little extra knowledge, right? Exactly, Sanjay ji. Quality comes with knowledge. So you have to, gather knowledge continuously throughout your life. Maybe read a lot of books, meet a lot of people, attend a lot of webinars, right? So again, this slide basically talks about increasing your knowledge, right? That you can increase your quality. And when you increase your knowledge and quality, then you go for experience. And when you gather more and more experience, again, you add on to your quality. That is something which is very, thank you Kusumji, thank you so much. That is what this slide says. Quality is very essential and comes with time. Experience adds on to your quality, but before that you have to gather a lot of knowledge to reach the level of quality, right? So again, just a simple message is, don't stop, pursue as many things as you can, right? Again, be an all-rounder, be a holistic, be a person with a holistic personality, because everybody goes for the best in today's world, right? Nobody wants an average. And just a little something towards the end of the presentation which we want to convey is, developing one skill today is not enough at all. You have to be good at almost everything. Survival of the fittest, right? As we always see. So again, there's no definition of perfect, but again, you can always get yourself close to perfect, right? Again, yes, Sumandip ji, practice makes a man perfect. Very right, very right. um Yes, Jyoti ji, Three Idiots again, very good example. Exactly. Every time we need to update ourselves. Exactly, Shobna ji. So maybe some basic qualities like this, has to be there, so that when we talk about the three C's, etc., we should understand it from the core, how it happens and how it can happen if we want. Well, we have reached the end of our presentation, and just certain new updates which the homework app and team has for you, post which we will share the attendance link, which will give all of you the certificates for today's webinar will be shared. So after a short demo of just 5 minutes, wherein we want to show you all the new features the application has for you to make education more fun, more interactive, and more effective, right? With the integration of technology in the offline classrooms as well. We will share the attendance link after the very short demo. Okay, I'll just share my screen, for the same. I hope you all enjoyed, today's webinar and maybe learned something, new today. Thank you, Megha ji. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for the comments. Well, just give me 1 minute. I'll just share my screen. Okay. Um, all right. I hope you all can see my screen right now. Oh, thank you so much for all the comments. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Can you just confirm once if you can see my screen? So I'll just proceed ahead. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Poonam ji. Thank you, everyone. All right. So the homework app certain, has like three new things as per the boards and NCRT syllabus, which is very important, as of now. The first thing is basically the interactive quiz, right? So all of you, as you can see on the screen right here, the interactive quiz, is at the top, and it is a new feature which the app has introduced. Now, what the interactive quiz is, it's basically a gamified quiz. We all have attended a lot of sessions, on gamification, but any application hasn't done anything free of cost, to introduce or to implement the topic, at the school level, right? So gamification is very essential, and the app is something, for you in this particular aspect. Interactive game like quizzes. So interactive quiz is basically something which is developed right now for standard 10 and standard 11, for a few subjects, right? So as you can see on my screen right here, we have it for mathematics, standard 10 and standard 11, and we also have it for science, standard 11th. So for these many classes, the gamified quiz is there right now in the application. So all these standard 10 and the standard 9 teachers, right? I'm sorry, it's standard 9 teachers. Please be aware that the app has something new for you. Now, if you click, let's say on math standard 10, you can see that, we have various chapters like real number, we have quiz to boost the fundamental theorem of arithmetic, etc. Now, again, how to use this particular quizzes? You just click on the interactive quiz button. You reach onto this screen. Now, maybe let's say you want to teach the real numbers, the topic real numbers, and in that you want to teach the e-division lemma, with the help of the interactive quizzes to students, right? So what you will do is just click on the play button. If you click on the play button, you can play it as a teacher. If you click on share on WhatsApp, you can basically share the link on WhatsApp. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. So if you click on WhatsApp, you can basically share on WhatsApp the particular link, right? You can copy paste the link and share on WhatsApp with your students. So I'll just click on the play button and show you, how the quiz, appears for student. Just after this particular demo of 3 to 4 minutes, I'll share the certificate link with all of you. So don't leave the webinar. We'll share the certificate link with all of you very shortly, right? Again, talking about this particular quiz thing, just click on the play button. Okay. Now, as you click on the play button, you can see, how the screen appears. Again, since I've already played this before, it's appearing like this, for me. So you can just click on replay if you have already played it, if you have already tried it before, right? Yeah. So for students, again, you click on real numbers e-division lemma. The application first has a home screen, where it shows you this kind of, explanation for the same. And as you can see, how colorful and how, gamified version of explanation is there with all the examples. So as a student, before examination, I don't have to go through my notes. I can just come onto this screen and revise the real numbers, with just 3 to 4 scrolls, as you all can see on the screen, right? After revising it from here as a student, I can click on got it, go to questions. Okay. Now you can see the first question is there on the screen and there is about 10 seconds which is given for reading and the options are there. So let's say I click on false. Okay, the answer is right. Okay. And you can see, how the quiz, gives you pointers, it shows you the correct answers and it shows, the badges, and everything, which you have earned, right? So this is how basically the gamified quiz version works, right? The interactive quiz version, wherein you have sounds, badges, memes, etc. to engage students and to make learning fun, for students, right? So that is the first feature. The second is a lot of case study questions, etc., which has been introduced as per the board pattern. So case study questions and the assertion based questions, right? So if you click on the case study question bank, you can very easily look upon all the chapters which are there and from anywhere you can pick up the quiz studies. So let's say I click on the bond of love, right? I select this topic, the bond of love, and when I select the bond of love, you can see that the case study questions is appearing. You can see it as a sub option on the screen, right? I click on the case study questions and you can see all the questions in the form of case studies right here. So the homework app right now has also introduced, case study questions as per the board pattern, assertion-based questions as per the board pattern, from standard 1 to standard 10. You should use, all these features which are there in the application because as you know, it's free of cost and again, very, very effective. If you want the case study questions for a particular class, you just go to the class option at the bottom of the screen and you create your section here. So I've just created two classes here. There's standard 6 mathematics and there is like standard 9 English. But if you want to create any other class, you can create the same as well, right? If you click on standard 9, you will see that you can do all these things right here. Use question banks, auto generate worksheet. If you want the worksheet to be generated automatically, it will be generated automatically as well, right? Create your PDF assignment, etc., etc. So what I'll do is I'll click on use question bank. I click on use question bank and if you can see, I have the question bank right here for standard 9 English and I again have the case study questions for this as well. So you can do the same thing, not only for English or mathematics, not only for standard 9 or standard 6, but for all these standards. Case study questions, assertion based questions, and the interactive quiz are the three new features which are introduced by the application, as per the CBSE, or the board syllabus demand, right? Again, uh, competency based questions which we discussed in one of our webinars, that as per the new board syllabus, the competency based questions are very, very important, right? The app will also introduce the same very, very soon for all of you. So yeah, those are also coming very, very soon, the competency based questions, first of its kind in an application like this, which is free of cost. Well, just give me one more minute, right? Rajni ji, from standard 1 to standard 10 materials are there. For standard 11 and 12, there are one or two subjects available right now. So you can just check in the application only. Otherwise, from standard 1 to 10, everything is there in the application. And I'll just show you a simple slide, which talks more about it. But before that, I'll share the attendance link or the certificate link with all of you. Just give me 1 minute. I'll share the link right now with all of you. All right. I'm just sharing the attendance link right now in the chat box. This is there. Fill it with correct email IDs and do join the WhatsApp group at the end. Now, why you have to join the WhatsApp group at the end? If you fill the certificate and the form, you will basically get your certificates within 24 hours via emails. And if you join the WhatsApp group, you will get the opportunity to earn prizes which are worth 1999. I'll just tell you more about this thing. Just give me 1 minute. Oh, yeah, this is there. So you get participation certificate for today's webinar. You fill the form. During the end of the form, okay, please do click on join the WhatsApp group button. You join the WhatsApp group and you will be able to participate in the Smart Teacher Festival, which gives you Smart Teacher certificate of gold, silver, and bronze, and Smart Teachers kit, which is worth rupees 1999. So yeah, do join the group and participate in the Smart Teacher Festival. It can give you an opportunity to earn all these things in your pocket, the certificate and the kit, which is worth rupees 2000. So do fill the form and do join the WhatsApp group also. For Kannada, we don't have any materials, Jayanti ji, but yeah, I'm very sure the app will have it, sometime or the other. And thank you so much for all the comments. Let me take out printout as well as of the material. Avanish ji, I'm not understanding which material you're talking about. Can you elaborate on the same, please? Um, Okay. All right. Again, the next webinar, in line is this, as you can see on the screen. Discovering your potential, as a teacher is the next webinar, I'm going to have with all of you. Request all of you to join and also bring, some other friends and colleagues of yours to join the session as well. We'll talk about various things, like self-awareness questionnaires, some classic books, some examples and everything. So as you can see on the screen, this is the next webinar we are going to have. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe day after tomorrow, right? And yeah, hope to see you all there once again. Do fill the form by 7:10 p.m. because the form will close, after that, right? So that is very, very essential. Yeah, please, Tabasumji, do join the WhatsApp group. I know, but do join the WhatsApp group because I think every webinar has this unique WhatsApp group, wherein they communicate uniquely with all of you. So I will really request you to join the WhatsApp group. Bhupinder ji or anybody who hasn't received the certificates, please reach out to the app representatives in the group only. I'm not